Check. Thanks, Bill. All right, bye-bye.
We are unmuted. So if your mic's on, it's live.
Okay,
Hey, Bill.
I don't know if he's gonna talk much.
All right, it's 3:30. Gonna call the meeting to order. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
And begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very much. Okay. Well, let's start with the roll. Bill Shute is present. Hayden Hamilton,
I'm here.
Janine Milikovich, give me the best pronunciation. Milikovich. Milikovich. Thank you, Janine. Bill Stewart is online and present. Hello, Bill.
Bill is there.
He's looking a little blue.
He is looking blue. Better than yellow. Or green. And Cynthia's here, but we'll
You've got a quorum.
we do have a quorum, but she's in standby. All right, anybody in the public out? Yes. If at any point anyone would like to ask a question or make a comment and have joined this meeting with their computer, they can click on the raise hand button located at the bottom of the screen. We will be alerted that they would like to speak. When called upon, please unmute the microphone and ask the question or make comments in no more than 3 minutes. Those who have joined by dialing a number on their telephone will need to press *6 to unmute themselves and then *9 to alert us that they would like to speak. A slight pause will also be offered at the conclusion of each agenda item discussion to allow public members an opportunity to make comments or ask questions.
You know, poor Craig, he comes all these meetings, but he hasn't raised his hands. Maybe someday he will.
Well, it could be.
It is a communications committee
Yeah,
meeting.
communicate.
We communicate.
There you go. Well, it's the new year. So
That's right.
item 5, seating of alternates. We don't need to do that, but welcome anyway. And that was sad news that I just got, but we'll talk later. Moving on, item 6. Sad or happy, I guess.
Yes.
Additions, deletions, amendments to the agenda.
I don't know. Cynthia, is there anything we need to add or remove from this? Are we ready on all items? Is there
I
any-
think we're ready on all ends when we get to, what is it? 17. I'll just need a little more information on what that is.
Okay,
No
let me
idea what
think
that
about that.
Okay. Takes a little
It was a
forewarning.
very long, it was a different year, actually,
Oh,
when that
true.
conversation got up.
Here.
Okay, perfect. And moving on to item 7, any public comment relating to items not on the agenda?
Dawn, have we received anything in writing?
We did not receive any comments.
Is
in writing.
Craig raising his hand? Please, please, please. No.
Okay, so no public comments regarding items not on the agenda. All right, everybody has the December 1st minutes in front of them. If you could take a moment to review, and then if I could get a motion to approve.
Unless there are any changes, I move we approve.
Second. And we don't,
Thank you for calling Rainbow Municipal Water District.
That was me.
oh,
That was weird.
This is, I'm starting to freak out.
And General Manager Tom.
Bill must be calling the office. You calling the office?
are we good? So
Yes, so did you second?
need seconded.
Oh, okay.
So do we have to do anything else?
I need,
We need a roll call
I
since
gotta do
Bill
a roll
is.
call vote because one of the members of the.
Got it.
Let me do that. Member Hamilton,
Aye.
member Shute,
Aye.
member Malakovich. And member Stewart.
Member Stewart, can you give us a thumbs up or an eye?
Turn green.
Just nod
You're
your
muted.
head.
Oh, you can't hear us?
Oh,
Really?
No.
Okay. He has no volume or no audio?
No audio.
We'll just have to mark him down as no vote at this point, imagine.
But as abstain?
I guess.
He
abstain
can't- he
because
can't hear the
didn't
question.
vote,
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, if he
I don't
can't,
know.
Okay,
all right, are we okay on 8 now?
we're good.
Okay, moving on. Item 9, general manager comments.
All right, so over the last several months, I've been telling you about the different hydrologic conditions, both in the state of California and also what's going on in Colorado. And briefly with California, we've had a record-setting snowfall over the last 30, 45 days. Although it is tapered off quite a bit. And you remember last year, it went real high in December, then flatlined on us. And it went real high toward the end of December and January, and it's now tapering a bit, although there is a weak series of storms coming in Northern California later this year. We're at around many areas around the level of the April 1st average still. But there is potential that if we have another repeat of last year where we have this huge deluge and then nothing, then it's not going to help as much as it could if we had normal precipitation from here out. A lot of the major reservoirs are at their normal average for this time of year, although 2 large reservoirs, Shasta and Trinity, are below their average for now. They're farthest north in the system. So a lot of those ARs went south. And it's nuanced because those ones are federal projects that mainly serve through the federal water system, and our water supply comes through the state water project, which starts at Lake Oroville. And so, but it's all water. So we're really hoping to see some additional wet weather for the next 60 days before the rainy season ends. And we're not dreaming about a March miracle, and we don't really need one, but everything will help because home of Colorado, as I told you last summer, the federal government set a deadline that the 7 basin states needed to come together and make an agreement voluntarily to reduce 2 to 4 million acre feet a year of demand. And that didn't happen. And the deadline came and went. And so a little while later, the federal government set another deadline, January 31st. This time they meant it. 7 basin states need to come together. And so Monday night, 6 of the basin states, which are the upper basin states of Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, and New Mexico, aligned with Arizona and Nevada, put forth their plan. Their plan largely said that the first thing the federal government should do is account for evaporation that occurs in Lake Powell and Lake Mead. Because about 1.5 million acre feet a year, 1.5 million acre feet a year evaporate out of those 2 lakes. And anybody who's been to one of those lakes in the summer knows that there's a lot of evaporation in these lakes in the desert. But heretofore, the federal government had acted as if evaporation didn't occur. 15 million acre feet comes out of the watershed, goes into the storage and transportation system. 1.5 million acre feet evaporates, yet 15 million acre feet gets delivered. And you wonder why those reservoirs have been doing this number. They've relied over the years on periodic really wet years to make it up and to ride and average it out. But for the last 23 years, we've been, had a couple of wet years, but it's really been at or below normal, whatever normal is anymore, level. So they have a couple other caveats on it. Their plan ramps up conservation between now and the next 3 years fairly rapidly. Obviously, if you do 1.5 million acre feet right at the gate, that's good. But the 7th basin state, California, didn't sign on to that. And the following day, Tuesday, the deadline, working through the Colorado River Board, which is chaired by JB Hamby, who's a board member at Imperial Irrigation District, and vice chaired by none other than our own Jim Medaffer from the Water Authority, in what was a fairly contentious vote a few weeks ago. They put out another plan, and this is the biggest users of Colorado: Imperial Irrigation District, Palo Verde Irrigation District, MWD, but much less than VID, and they put out a different plan. They chastened the other basins, the other states' plan is saying that it penalizes people who are in the lower basin, because the way the upper basin works, Colorado, Utah, Montana, Wyoming and New Mexico, a lot of their water in the watershed comes locally to them because it lands on it, right? And the stuff but Arizona and Nevada joined on too because they have a different reason for that. But California, it all has to come through the lake system, Powell and Meade, in order to get to us. And so if you're in Colorado, the snow landed on you and that thing landed in your local reservoir as part of that 15 million acre feet, what happens in Meade and Powell isn't a big deal because it's handled in your local reservoir, not a federal reservoir. And so they felt it was unfair. And there's a good point to that they're shouldering all the losses in the way, but they're also at the end of the pipeline. And as some of us know here, you're at the end of the pipeline. There are certain negative aspects of being at the end of the pipeline on a water supply situation. And so they put forth another plan. And essentially, and this is all available in various places. If you want to read the gory details, I can send you the links. But there's two components to it. First, a couple components. First, they offer very much more modest, 400,000 acre feet a year from California in shared conservation amongst all the different agencies. And then set a sliding scale on how those could ramp up should we get down to dead pool. I mean, they're really going, some of the elevations are at or below power generation at the Hoover Dam, and they're just trying to avoid dead pool. And it was underwhelming to me, the volumes they're talking about, because it's not going to help the problem. But and then what they said, well, if it craters, there's two options. First, we follow the law of the river. And that's basically what they said. And which those of us who've read The Water Knife have a pretty good idea what might happen there. Essentially, Arizona gets cut off. Nevada gets theirs cut way back. Nevada only has like a couple 100,000 acre feet of total demand, total rights on the river. They have a tiny amount. Las Vegas is the smallest major metropolitan by far in there, and they're the most efficient. People complain about Vegas and their fountains and golf courses, but that's a hyper efficient place. And that's not what people perception is, because they always have the news reports and they show the fountains at Bellagio and they think, oh, they're wasting water. Man, that's not the case up there. And the law of the river essentially goes back to all the stuff, especially the 1968 when Arizona came in, and the California v. Arizona Supreme Court decision, which basically says that Arizona basically gets cut to damn near zero before California state cuts. And that's not politically tenable or even economically tenable for the state of Arizona. And just as a nation to say that, yeah, because a long time ago, these guys had these, inherited ancient water rights that somebody staked a claim like a gold miner 120 years ago, that's just not fair anymore. But they said, all right, if that doesn't work, we have another alternative. And they came up with something new, which I like to call the VCCAs, voluntary compensated conservation agreements. And I spoke to one of the people who was in the room about this, because when it came out, I pinged him and said, hey, that was some creative words there, because the way they did it, and and it took some deliberation because there's a couple components there. The term voluntary is in there because within the quantitative settlement, quantification settlement agreement, the QSA that divvied up the water that San Diego has the deal with IID and did the canal lining and all the other stuff in 2003. If IID has to take a mandatory cut, the feds come down and say, you have a cut, then that cut can apply to the water authority as well. If it's voluntary, it doesn't. And so, and if this, none of this says all that, but if you look at how much IID sells water to farmers for 20 or 25 bucks an acre foot, and how much they sell it to us for, $600 an acre foot, then they go, wow, man, it'd be better if it's voluntary, because then it will take the cuts on these guys, and then we'll still keep that cash flow coming. Because at the end of the day, follow the money on things. That's just what I've learned over time. The other part of it is it's compensated. And because they feel that we have these water rights, we have the most senior water rights, and if you want us to not use it, it's a federal taking. We'll sue you. We're going to court. If you try to tell us we can't use the water we have rights to, that's a taking. We're going to sue you. You owe us money. And in the past, those sorts of legal tactics have worked. That's how we ended up with the QSA. That's how we ended up with the 2007 interim guidelines. That's how we ended up with the 2019 DCP. All these other machinations, they've been trying to rearrange the chairs on the deck of the Titanic year after year and time after time after time, we've seen this show before. And so it's difficult to for me to justify, because we're the federal government. Let's say that they had rights to, 3.1 million acre feet of actual water was there. And we said, no, we're going to take that water from you and let somebody else use it. That's one thing. That water doesn't exist. So my proposal and other people propose is that the federal government is just like, look, everybody has all these rights they've established that was based on 15 million acre feet. Well, there's no longer 15 million acre feet. There's 12 million acre feet. Just cut everybody pro rata. And they believe that's fair. I believe that's fair. But the guys down in Imperial Valley, and if you've noticed, you read some articles about the water markets and the people who are water speculators and water markets, and those futures have been rising. Because when the Congress was debating the Inflation Reduction Act last summer, Senator Sinema from Arizona was a holdout. And in order to get her to come on board, she got $4 billion put in there to deal with the Southwestern water crisis. But you can look on my Twitter feed, and I predicted this at the time it happened, that's the payola for the compensated part of those conservation agreements. And the thing that just chaps me is that water doesn't exist. If it did ever, it evaporated out of the lakes, or it never came out of the mountains in the first place. It might this year because I got a pretty good snowpack, but on average, the river's delivering about 12 million acre feet a year. And these guys want to get paid not to use some portion of the 3 million acre feet that just doesn't exist. And so it would seem to me, I'd hope if it goes to the Supreme Court, if they do it and they take them to Supreme Court in order to get some money out of it, the Supreme Court would say, yeah, we have all these laws and deals and agreements and things like that, but those were based on this condition. We're now in this condition. And so it's hard to say that, when these things were done in 1968 or 1922 or all these other times, that was part of what everyone was considering. There's been a hydrological change in the West. It's aridifying. And so we'll see what happens. But the money, my money is still on, and talking to somebody who was in the room said that this is a payout. We're going to try to get them paid and kick it down the road to 2026. 2026 being when the 2019, the 2007 interim guidelines ended, and 2019 DCP had to be done. And then that ends in 2026, and they're going to do this whole thing over again. And I think that the favorable hydrology from all the snowpack that got the Sierras, which is similar to what we're seeing here, is people saying, we can kick this can down the road again and get our taste of some billions of dollars, which, until we deal with it, until we deal with the law of the river that was created in a room somewhere in Santa Fe, New Mexico in 1922 by a bunch of old guys sitting around a table divvying up the entire water palette of the West, and at the time leaving Mexico out and every Native American tribe at the time, until we go back and reconcile that and make it work, it's going to be a problem. This is really a job for Congress to do, but as everyone knows, Congress doesn't do a whole lot. And so it's been left to the courts and lawsuits and Supreme Court decisions to create the law of the river is a series of agreements between states and court case, and court cases drive a lot of it. And it's not a law that Congress passed in 1922. This is just a series of interstate agreements. And so unfortunately, that's kind of where we're heading. I'm hoping the Bureau really doesn't want to, because there's been some political pressure from senators in multiple states, and senators from our state put out statements yesterday saying that they don't like it. They don't like these things. The one challenge California has is that we have 2 senators, and we don't have as much clout in Congress as some might think we do. And so the court, the makeup of the Supreme Court, you got to look at it. And I'm not just saying the court is politicized, but some say that it is. And how would that pan out? Is there a punish California gene in our Congress or whatnot? Especially when you take all the other states or oppose. Everybody, east of them may not care, but you could easily see that maybe Congress will do something if Arizona, Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, Utah, and all those states get some other folks back east to try to get something done. That is the longest of long shots, but we'll see it. So stay tuned. I hope the feds don't kick the can down the road, but the odds are they're going to come up with something that's going to be a meld between the two. There'll be some evaporation, but here's several hundred million or billions of dollars for water that doesn't exist. And we'll revisit this next time, which is going to be right around the corner. Sorry for the long discussion, but it's a complicated topic that's going on.
Good update. Anything else that was specific to general manager comments? I know we have other topics you'll pop in.
Committee
I'm sure.
memberships, but I know that you guys heard an announcement, or may have heard that Cynthia is going to be retiring.
Mhm.
She's been on the last couple of weeks on her farewell tour here.
Uh-huh.
We'll be talking about that later. And Josh Cruz here, who sitting here, is our acting customer service supervisor. I don't know if the application pool is open for the job yet, or it's still not yet. So we haven't opened up because they're doing job description review, but I don't know, Josh might apply for that job. We'll see. I can't predict the future, but we appreciate Josh stepping up to the plate. Josh is a Raiders fan, so he's obviously awesome. So is Cynthia. So that's a good thing to have. And
You said a what fan?
Raiders fan.
I see.
So that carries favor with the current general manager. I can't speak to what's going to happen a year from now if they hire a Charlie.
Welcome,
fan,
Josh.
no problem.
Okay, anything else,
That'll
Mr.
do
General
enough. We got
Manager?
Lathered enough.
Okay, moving on, item 10, committee member comments. Start with you, Hayden.
I have none.
Janine?
None.
Bill, can you hear us now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah,
I can. Do you
Okay.
have any comments for
Yeah,
the?
I'm on the phone, so I probably sound a little tinny. No, only that I enjoyed what Tom had to say. I only caught about the last 5 minutes of it.
All right. Well,
I
welcome.
couldn't get through on normal audio through the Zoom, so we'll figure that out.
All righty. All right. And I just want to say welcome back to the committee. I'm really glad that you wanted to come participate. That's great. And Janine, for your first I guess meeting into the new year as a member, that's wonderful. That's great. And Cynthia, wow. Kind of a surprise, but I'm sure it's all the right choices. So, and I like your book. Those are some great pictures. I guess my only comment is, we've had this, you mentioned this great amount of water that has come to our region, recently. And, the benefit, obviously to our ratepayers are a lot of people got to turn their irrigation
Oh,
off.
they did turn it off.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. I know I did. But that doesn't stop the coyotes and the squirrels and everybody else. And when you're not running irrigation, you kind of don't spend as much time paying attention to it. So as we come out of this wet season, or wet period, I'd recommend that maybe in the next newsletter or something, we highlight you might want to be doing a system check if you're going to be powering your vines back on or your trees or all that kind of stuff. Cause I just took a walk and I saw many a place where there was some chewing going on. So
Yeah, well, that's
I got some maintenance
on
to do
our item
before.
15 communications calendar.
There you go.
That's on.
So,
there.
but just as a
Yeah,
comment or a thought,
for all those on YouTube.
I have a point of order question. We've never officially recognized Bill as a committee member.
The board appointed him.
So
Yes.
at the board meeting,
We did at the board meeting, but does the committee have to do anything or not?
no, because the board usually goes the reverse order. The committee will
Okay.
recommend the board appoint, but the board did it without that
Okay,
recommendation.
I just want to make sure that.
Yeah.
Point of order that we were crossing our i's and dotting our
We
t's
did.
correctly.
Where the board says rules.
There you go.
They're shoving me down your throats, guys.
Yeah, that's right.
There you go. Yeah, and it has been a while. So we met on December 1st, right?
Right.
So it's been a
Mhm.
big.
And the
big
election
break.
wasn't official at that time.
Yeah, we didn't,
Yeah. Okay, well, I have no other comments. So if there are no comments more, we'll move on to item 11. The HOA and submetering outreach update.
I did receive the spreadsheet with all of the customers inside the HOAs that we don't have their contact information for. Ahmed was kind enough to provide a very comprehensive list of that. I can't confirm or deny that we got everything in there. And there were a great deal of missing customer names or the unit, right? So you could see that like in this one section, there was units 28, 29, 30, and then nothing from 12 to, 20. I think that we need to see if this is the only way that we can communicate with those HOA customers, or if it's still maybe an option to literally just reach out to the HOAs themselves and see if they would be willing to help distribute how to get that information to them. Because the other thing was then to schedule, how often do we need to update that? Should we do it every month? How many people come and go from an HOA and then we don't have that customer's name? We would still have the unit name and they may
we can do
look at
rest.
that and go, this is for me or was for the past person. I'm not sure. I'm sure this will be a conversation that we'll have for quite a few committee meetings until we kind of discover exactly what is the best course for.
How approximately how large is the list that you do have? Is it a couple of hundred?
yeah.
I
it's
would
not-
say a couple hundred.
It's not like 500.
Yeah, it's not huge.
No,
I think one of the challenges here is that since, like for our customers, we have regular communication and stuff, good data for these things that are outside of our data set. Ahmed's pulling it from other disparate data sets. One of the things we had talked about before is like the way the bulk mailers do it. And we could certainly try to get from a commercial bulk mailing. We were trying to do it without spending some money.
Yeah.
Commercial bulk mailer address list and then cross-reference it from our parcel data so we would get a more complete, because I'm sure the commercial guys hit every mailbox. They don't miss a thing.
As
I
occupant.
know they hit mine, but
As occupant.
as occupant, and we're not going to know who the people are. It'd be resident or something like that. And then this would be a mailing. It would be generic, because trying to maintain a database, even of our customers that pay us bills every month to keep all the information accurate, is challenging enough.
mhm.
But ones that we don't have any context and we're plucking from county records or other things that could be months or years behind being updated. So that might be another venue.
Have we approached the HOAs themselves and asked for support or cooperation?
I know that we've had talks with some in the past, but from what I understood from some of the communications we've gotten is that their HOA is not, certain HOAs are totally engaged with their communities, and some send them bills for their landscaping, and then there's no real active
Mhm.
participation or
Yeah.
whatnot. And then my understanding was that we wanted to not rely on them, because in the past we have given stuff to HOAs and it never really filters down.
I didn't mean that, but in terms of building a mailing list, in other words,
Ask for their list.
can we get them to provide us with their list, at least in terms of units, not individuals?
Cynthia will get right on that tomorrow.
I absolutely will.
Oh,
Like I stated, the one contact that I did have with the San Luis Rey Downs HOA, they have these HOA meetings, and we're more than happy for them to actually maybe just distribute a list and say who's interested, right? So that we were literally finding out the people that were interested in having more information. Obviously, all of those HOA customers knowing that they could get additional information. And whether or not they wanted that mailed, or if they just wanted to know where that newsletter can be found on our website, and give them it in the version that they want, the way that they want it. And I thought that since they were very, very excited about me maybe presenting that to the committee, and then being able to then reach out to those HOA customers, that we hopefully would get the same type of response from some of the other HOAs, and basically work with them to get this information to everybody that would like to have it.
How did the problem or the issue first come on the radar? And really, how big of
We
a
have-
problem is it?
We have a member of the board of directors, which is in an HOA and does not get direct communications because she's not a billable water customer. So we have, our records are where we send the bill to, and if it's a HOA unit that has a master, like an apartment complex, your water's included in your bill, and you never really receive any information about what's going on water wise.
But I guess my concern is you're going to put a lot of time and energy, and like you said, there's going to be a lot of transition and the difficulty in trying to keep up and make sure those lists are viable. If
Go ahead.
we have one person who is concerned that they're not getting the flyers, so now everyone is putting a lot of effort and time into this.
I think there's one other aspect of this is that some of these people who aren't our customers also but are affected by water mains and things like that. We work on it.
Right.
If we can get like the parcel record data, if you ever look at property maps, sometimes at HOAs, there's strange different ways that the assessor does them. But if we can get commercial mailing
Yeah.
lists, because once we get the list for that HOA, those houses aren't going anywhere. And we don't care who it is, it's gonna be a resident here. And if we can establish that database, it shouldn't change. It should be a one-time effort. And so then it's just a matter of figuring out how frequently we want to touch base with those folks. We'd like to make sure, since they are residents and there could be a water main running in front of their condo and they don't have anything to do with it, but at least they know who we are, how to contact us, and that sort of stuff. So it is a little more work as a percentage of what gets done every day. It's not a huge one. We haven't been toiling anywhere near as hard on this as we have in many other things, as you can
And
tell by how many times.
Janine, I don't think we want to take it down to the individual level. What we want to do is at least get it to
Mailbox.
the unit level.
Yeah.
As Tom says, that building unit isn't going to move, even though there may be 2 or 3 or 4 turnovers in a year, or even in one unit.
And it wouldn't be every communication, but it would also be just a maybe quarterly touch base. Say, if you want more information, you can get on our email list this way and then get more information. You'd be surprised. Sometimes some people don't read this stuff, but we get a lot of feedback from people who do enjoy reading it and they understanding, and we can give them information about other things that are going on, projects we have and things like that affect them, even though they're not paying a bill directly.
The only other comment I had in addition to that was, I don't know what other agencies are doing, if they are addressing the same topic, how they address it. If it's a problem
In similar ways, I've worked at a couple different agencies, and it also depends in the urban areas where there's a lot more of this stuff in apartments. They've got these processes ironed out because, and they're much more dense and many more people, and they have bigger agencies than ours. And so these processes are well worn. And for us, we're mainly rural residential, and it wasn't until really Pam brought it up that we're like, oh yeah, I guess we got to figure those folks out. And so we've been trying to figure out what's the most cost effective way to do it. We didn't want to have to go out and pay for it, but it's difficult to get really clean data. The people who are making money on this data are the ones who have clean data. And so that might be our only resort. It's not going to be huge. It might be, a couple $100 to get the data, and then delete everyone who we're already sending a bill to and bring in just the ones that we're not, based on the partial data sets that Cynthia's already identified. Then we, all right, that's Whispering Pine Lane. We see there's all these units. Oh, we found that set on this data set. All right, let's grab this data, because the bulk mailers and whatnot, if they get a lot of kickback, the USPS makes it really clear to them that, in order to do those pre-sorted stuff and all that sort of thing, that's all validated good addresses, right? As opposed to us using parcel data or some other source. But it's all about our job here on this committee, and we try to communicate as best we can and to reach everybody in our service area, not just the people paying bills.
I think that's a great question. And I think that we need to just kind of also reiterate what Tom said. At this point, we're just trying to find the fastest and least expensive way to contact these people. I think that one of the things that we do deal with in our demographics is that even though these newsletters and a lot of this information is on our website, a great deal of our customers, and Josh can confirm, like their paper. They really do. And so if that is sometimes the only way that we're going to get this information, then I think that pursuing the way that we can go about that with as least amount of effort and cost involved is a good discussion, and
Sure.
we'll get there.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, my only 2 cents on this is that, there's lots of really important topics that we're going to want to communicate to everybody in the district, and just knowing where they are, whether it's conservation, whether it's all the stuff that's been going on with detachment, whether it's all these projects and sewer pipelines and, all that kind of stuff. It's nice to be able to get to that dwelling and say, hey, here's what's going on. So that's why kind of this got brought up, was that we just had a blind spot within the district of these people don't really get communicated to from us. So can we correct it? But
Can we
Yeah,
correct
but-
it cheaply?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Cost
Is
effective.
could I ask a question?
Sure.
Can you hear me,
I can
guys?
hear you, Bill.
Yeah, do you see this problem as only related to units that have net metering, or all, condominiums and apartments that are rented, where you have a landlord on the one hand, and that is sometimes your billing address? Let's say in the case of a condominium that's rented, you're billing the property owner. Sometimes they pass along water costs and sometimes they don't.
Yeah, I think the goal is
and-
to reach every mailbox that we don't with a bill already that's in our service area.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether it's an apartment.
Because even in a little association like ours,
Absolutely.
we have a hard time keeping track of the renters, because, the owner's living in it one day and the next day it's leased out. So our relationships with the owner, all of our legal relationship, even if the renter violates a covenant or something and gets a letter, it goes to the owner,
Mhm.
not directly to the renter. The renters, therefore, don't get copies of the rules. They don't get information because the owners don't send it along.
Right.
And it's the same kind of thing. And it'd be very, very great if there's some way to reconcile the billing address versus the property address. And if we had all the property addresses that could direct at least an electronic, something to that property electronically, or at least seek to get an email address, that'd be great. If not, send them something, hard copy, because it's a real important thing. And more of the units in our region are leased units.
Yeah, he's right, because a lot of times the billing address is not the same as a site address. So the property, there might be a renter living there that never sees our communication, and the property owner lives in LA or somewhere like that. And so that's another angle on this that adds another wrinkle to it.
Yeah, and we would absolutely not know how many
Well, we know
places
where
here.
we've got billing address and site address that are different, and we can say, all right, let's take those ones where they're clearly somewhere else. And then we send,
Sometimes they don't even have
Sometimes that's where
anybody
their
living
accountant
there.
lives.
They honestly don't. So we don't know
yeah,
if that's the case. Sometimes they have a PO box, but they
Right.
still live at that residence.
Sure.
Sometimes, like in my neighborhood, they live there occasionally, and nobody else lives in those houses. I have 5 that I look at every day
Yeah.
that are empty. So we don't know what that number is. However, we do try to, when it is actually something that's going to affect that property, notify at that property. We will have not only the property address, but a billing address.
Right.
But if it's going to be a shutdown or something like that, we're going to try to,
Sure.
something that affects that actual property, we're going to try to contact.
just be
Okay.
glad
Well-
we're not in Rancho Santa Fe where nobody has a mailbox.
There you go.
There's no mail. It's all PO boxes.
So we've got a couple of follow-up items on
Yeah.
this then.
It's a
and-
work in progress.
All right. Okay. Any other questions or comments on item 11?
The only thing I'd add is you might want to find out what it would cost to get a mail list. I mean,
Just nail it.
you might actually be surprised. It might actually be,
We'll have Josh follow up with Ahmed next
Well-
week. Don't you already look at some of those? Let's take a look at it.
I don't know, but I think that might be the only way that we can really
Yeah.
take care of this one fell swoop.
Okay.
I mean,
Or we have somebody drive around and write down the addresses.
addresses, yeah, right.
Yeah, it's not
It's cheaper to buy the list.
I know.
the gas.
Well,
Figure
well,
our cost and time against the cost of the list.
Right.
It might be much more effective to.
And less carbon intensive.
There you
Oh,
go.
You're not using electric
Weird.
vehicles?
All right, I'm moving on from item 11.
Yeah, we're gonna digress pretty quickly here.
Item 12, detachment update.
Well, I wish I had great news to tell you that the commission was gonna have this at their Monday meeting, which was promised to us before. Of course, they promised us it would have been last summer and they promised it was supposed to be December 2021 or fall 2021. But now there isn't. The reasons for why this delay are somewhat immaterial in that they're more or less same sorts of reasons we heard before, although they've added one new wrinkle. On LAFCO, the various commissioners, the 8 commissioners have different terms of office, and term of office for one of the commissioners and an alternate ends in March, the end of March. And they feel they want to have the election and seat the new commissioner and then give them a month to digest if it is a new commissioner before they bring it in April. Now they've told us April is the time they're going to hear it first. And they have indicated to some they want to do 2 or 3 meetings of this sequentially, which means April, May, June before a vote.
Before approval, and then you have. to
Then
schedule
a
it.
vote of the commission, and then you got to go through the processes after that.
Can
and
you
what
just recap the document that they have right now is called,
Oh, the prospectus that
the
they,
prospectus exists today. And that's what's going to get discussed in the first meeting. There
not
was
the
no-
prospectus. It'll be an actual staff report. They are
the
working on it.
staff report is not completed yet.
Is not. So the prospectus was a kind of a trial balloon, so to speak, of potential things. I think to flush out either opposition or support from various camps.
And when will the management report be done?
What
We've been
they-
told
they-
it'll be available within a couple weeks ahead of the meeting.
And the meeting is now going to be,
Earliest
First-
the first week of April, first
April.
Monday of April. But
so management report for the April meeting.
that's now,
That's
I
what they're
would write
saying.
it down in pen.
I got
Yeah.
10, that's all I got. And then we're talking 3 months of discussions.
Yeah, but I have been writing that December 2021 would be the hearing date. So.
This
here
is
we
just
are in
the latest-
February 2023. And
But
so-
this is the latest schedule.
This
that
is
we
the-
Yes, the current testament, as they say.
Okay, well, I just think it's important because if any ratepayer wants to watch these
Yeah,
LAFCO meetings online or participate in person, that they know that the management report's right now gonna start in April.
yeah. And the interesting wrinkle is that the vote for who's on the commission for the special districts member is a vote among special districts. So all the 60 or so special districts will get sent a notice by LAFCO saying your board should vote for whoever signs up to be a candidate. I'm aware of 2 candidates for the seat at this point. I don't know if there's more. I'll probably will find on Monday. I'll be dialing into their meeting. I don't know if I'm going to drive all the way downtown for it because we don't really have anything on the agenda. But and we'll see what the candidate pool looks like at the quarterly dinner meeting of the CSDA on the 16th.
16.
There will be the candidate forum, which is historically where this has happened every 2 years. And we'll know then who's doing it. I know Barry Willis, the incumbent, is running. He came to our board meeting last month to garner support. Barry's a hard worker. Last time he went to, I think, 53 or something like that, special district board meetings over the course of 4 or 5 weeks. And he's doing it again. And it got him, because the interesting part on this election is not a weighted vote like Sandag or the Water Authority.
Each district.
Mutamai MWD or Winola Water District, that has 88 customers, has the same vote as Otay Water with 100,000 or whatever they've got down there. And so he's getting votes in numbers, and sometimes he's the only person they've seen at any of their meetings ever. And that works, all politics is local sometimes. And so we'll see, but I don't know. We don't,
Okay,
we'll find out, and we'll have to sit around and wait for the election results. There's not going to be an election night broadcast. It'll be one day LAFCO will just, the doors will open and say, here was the vote.
okay. Well, maybe there'll be some resolution before the end of the fiscal year. We'll see.
Yes.
Maybe. All right. Any other comments or questions on detachment? Thank you for that update. Item 13. Our headquarters becoming a field trip destination for local schools, and who's gonna carry this torch going forward?
That's the question.
Well, Tracy and I are both in the Rotary Club with the school superintendent, and saw him this morning, and
Did
we
you
will
just
be.
volunteer Tracy?
Well, we have regular communication when whoever we see with the new customer service supervisor, but we're also working on, as we mentioned earlier, some of the job description stuff, and that, Cynthia handled customer service and communication. And when we're trying to determine, all right, because Cynthia had a unique skill set. I'm not saying that Josh doesn't have communication, but is that the right place? Or are we going to, anytime we have a
Shuffle.
position become vacant, we take a look at, all right, let's make sure that when we replace this meets our current needs or what we forecast our needs to be. So exactly where all that's going to land is unclear. I have talked to Joseph about it, and they're super interested. They did have some changeover in some of the leadership in both schools. So he said, I got to bring some of these new people up to speed a little bit. We've had them on the tour here. They saw it. They enough of them know, but they're still working that stuff out. And so it's going to happen. It's just a matter of getting the school, get themselves organized. And then, we've got it pretty well down here. It's just a matter of who's our point of contact. And for now, we see him every week. And if there's any question.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing that we can go on is that I believe that our current staff, when we're ready, we can just pull the trigger. They'll be able to all fall in line and present their department and some of the great things that they can entice the kids into. And what I think is that they're working on the STEM program
Right.
over at Bonsall. I think that would be a great sell for them. I think they're really, really very much encouraging their students to kind of go down that path. And I know that we've worked with the STEM program before as well.
So we've got the basic outline of what's going to happen. It's just a matter of when the school's ready to say, all right, let's go. And we'll be ready on this. And our guys have done these things before. We say, all right, Robert, get your guys on this date. We need you to have demonstration with this, demonstration with that, demonstration with that. Don knows how to do the boardroom thing, the SCADA guys, all that stuff. We're ready to roll. So it's just a matter of him getting his staff organized in the process. We got the waiver approved.
So
Yeah,
you
we're ready
guys
to go.
will be following up
Yeah.
with school leadership. Okay. Cool. Any other questions, comments on item 13? Okay. Moving on to item 14, discussion regarding online bill pay, higher rates of adoption.
That's something I would have to get a little more information on. I'm not sure where.
Well, how do we get
We're-
higher rates of adoption and bill pay? And that, we've been kicking this around for a while. I think that there's a demographic cap on online payments in this area.
And what's our numbers now?
I don't know, what a
We'll
percentage?
have to look at what the numbers are, but I do hear the customer service reps always talk to people about it when they call or come in, getting it set up or helping them through the process. So we do push it quite a bit.
You guys know offhand what our number
The
is?
percent?
10%, 15%?
I don't like to guess,
Okay.
so. It's pretty high, like.
That's not
I
good
look-
general management
Well, I
material
looked
right
at
there.
I looked at it 2 years ago and it was like, it was like 60%.
60
Yeah, that,
online?
I think so.
Bill
It was
pay?
pretty high.
6 0 or
Well, we
1
had,
6?
remember,
See,
we had
under
to
promise and over deliver. That's
Yeah.
why I
we
said-
had to switch over the online software after we updated our
Yeah.
software, so it took a bit to get that
So,
number up.
I mean, if we're at 60% paying online, That's good.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the number I kind of remember from about
Yeah.
a year ago there. So
Yeah.
that,
I had to go back in the vault there.
yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, if we could maybe on the
And
next
it-
meeting, if we could.
Okay.
Get a
could
report.
see
Yeah.
how that
Look at the
is.
trends.
If, yeah, let's see where we are and maybe as a look back over 3 months and see if there's any real changes happening.
Maybe we can look at how payments are made, because there's certain people who come here every day, pay their bill, some in cash,
Mhm.
some write a check. Some people like coming here just because they're out and about and they get to go out of the house and write a check. And so we'll see where our various payment mechanisms
And there's
are.
some people that just will never do online bill pay.
Yeah, my wife's one of them.
Huh, yeah.
Okay, well, I think we were just curious when this topic came up, how we were doing.
Yeah.
And if there was anything that we could do, obviously, we're talking when they call in about it. And we can put something in the newsletter, but I'm sure it's much more efficient for both the ratepayer and for the team to, just that to happen automatically and getting a text and telling you you're gonna, this is your bill's gonna happen in the next X number of days. and-
Send
Yeah,
OK to pay if you.
Yeah.
The most
account. I
efficient
love
for
that.
us
That's
is if
good
they
either.
do either online or mail a check in because it goes to our service.
Okay. Okay.
So.
So again, I guess just, convenience and efficiency. So we were just asking about that. and
Okay.
seeing where- Okay. Anything else on item 14? No. Item 15, the communications annual calendar. I think we all have a handout from us. Does Bill have this?
No, Bill does
Uh,
I
not.
don't know.
No. Does Dawn have a copy? Can she send him one? Does Dawn-
Bill, if you guys can't send it, we'll just read through it, but it's a
Let's
list.
go scan it and email it to him.
So we just thought it'd be good to
Yeah, you
start out
can.
the year with some direction on what our goals were to communicate out for the year.
Mhm.
And then maybe we can turn this into a monthly item where we report out what we put in the newsletter in, the past 2 months and
Mhm.
or however many months we're into the year. So we know what we're communicating and what the goals are for the committee to get out there.
Okay,
So Bill, what I did was I put together a list of articles that we put in the newsletter and their frequency, because we do have particular things like the water quality report that happens annually. We have an annual Fix a Leak Week. We currently have articles on detachment at least 3 times a year that go in. The flu program 3 times a year. And just as a reference to information that is going out on a regular basis.
okay.
Stuff about drought, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
all
Yeah,
that
irrigation
stuff.
checks,
Restrictions.
yeah, water use efficiency, water.
Then we
awareness
infill
month.
with different things that are topical, like, oh, this big project we have, or a main break, or hey, there's new
Yes,
water restrictions coming, who knows?
but these are things that we communicate on a regular basis, or at least every year.
Okay. All right, well, Bill,
You
we're,
know, since I've been paying my bill online, I don't remember seeing a newsletter in the last month.
If you're registered online, don't we get their email address? We send them a newsletter by email?
The newsletter, if you're paying your bill online and if you have auto pay, then you actually have to click into your portal online and pull up that newsletter. And
I haven't done that then because I don't get it. I haven't seen it in a while.
You can sign up though to get the new email, those are emailed to you though, right? Maybe we should,
Is there
Okay.
another email list? There should
I-
be.
on our
I think there
website,
is on the website. Let me look.
there used to.
Okay.
I think there is 2, yeah.
well, maybe we should have an opt-in for that. I mean, a lot of people won't open a PDF. They won't click on a hyperlink that comes in an email.
Mhm.
So the most that I think we could, give them a note
Yeah.
on a monthly basis that suggests that they go to the website to look at the monthly newsletter. Unless we put it into some type of an HTML format, which we've talked about, where it's just part of the email. And
Right.
some
Yeah.
security browsers will block that and say download content. And
I know ours
we
does
trust-
here.
Yeah, well, so you can have them trust it, but I don't know how hard it would be to make the newsletter, to output it.
So
to that
let me
point.
offer this, because one of the things that we're looking at is the newsletter production. And how do we do that? And what's the best way? And, you know, right now it's something that Cynthia's done. And as we look at our, you know, our staffing and how all this thing's going to go through, where's that going to land? Because and in some cases, especially with things you're talking about, some of that is more technical and specialty, and it might be something that we can get a cheap outsourcing, that somebody, we give them the content and they make something that could be used in multiple forms, that their experience in HTML and all those, because that's not necessarily in the wheelhouse of a Josh or a Tracy or somebody like that, that we can just stack on top of them, or maybe have them learn how to do that. But to do that right and to navigate through the tricky waters of getting through spam and email filters and content blockers and all that sort of stuff, there are companies that do that, you know, and so it might even be our bill pay company who does a lot of electronic communication might have that as a subset of offerings. I haven't talked to them about it, but InfoSend, because they handle the electronic billing and payment, and they probably have some expertise in it. So let us finish what we're doing on how do the job description for the ultimate communication customer service service supervisor, because now it includes that communication portal. If that remains there, then the next person will lead it. But if it goes elsewhere, there has been discussion on, is some of this stuff a skill set that may have been possessed by Cynthia, but should not be expected, because sometimes you create a job description that meets the attributes of an individual, not.
No,
It's always bad to do, but every now and then I do it. You know, sometimes you got to do what you got to do in a small agency.
Well, I guess I would propose that, I mean, comments welcome, but for everyone to take a look at the calendar draft that's been sent to us or put in front of us. And if we could, if you're not looking at the newsletter monthly right now, for us to go back and take a peek at that, and then maybe combine items 15 and 16
Sure.
into a conversation next month where we can talk about not only enhancements to the newsletter, but just additional ways that it could be built or delivered. But that would probably be a good conversation. And what's the district's position on if there was a volunteer that wanted to help with something like that, rather than
We're all,
an
we're all,
intern.
you guys are all volunteers. We're all.
No,
for
well, I mean, it's
volunteers.
one thing to be sitting on the committee. It's another thing to be, potentially, drafting, creating
one of the-
content or something like that.
So the way the newsletter works, it's got to be ready to go and approved several days ahead of our 10th of the month
Billing.
first billing cycle. And so sometimes getting all the information together, especially if we were trying to get some sort of story together from other people like operations. And I know every month Cynthia goes, hey, who's got some story content? Because we have these standard ones, but we also want to infill with not the same BS.
Mhm.
And it'd be kind of a challenge sometimes to collect all the relevant stuff. And then there becomes this short time window to finish the production of it. And so volunteers, we say, hey, volunteer, I know it's Tuesday, but we need this by Wednesday night. And if there's somebody we're paying, we say, you're working on this between now and Wednesday
Sure.
night. But if they're a volunteer, they're like, well, geez, I'm going to be in, Des Moines, Iowa.
It's
with my
in
cousin.
Word form, getting.
No, we do it
technical,
out in Canva.
What's your delivery mechanism to info?
Oh, I think InfoSend, does it go as PDF to them or?
So for InfoSend, it's PDF. Right now, it's a very complicated process because I created in Canva. That gives me a little more flexibility. Canva doesn't export into an 8.5 by 11. I have to do some,
It's- yeah.
controlling with
Canva?
that
I've
to
never
try
heard
to
of it.
do that.
Canva's a really nice program that you use for different presentations and whatnot, but it has really simple and
Yep.
intuitive things to make nice looking graphics.
Yes.
But like I said, that's what we're doing, and whether that's the exact right
Yeah.
thing, that's why we want to take a look at all this.
All these things also, I mean, with Canva, you've got a plethora of pictures that you don't have to go find free pictures. You've got to be really careful about all those things,
Yeah.
all those
It's
pictures
under
that I
our
have.
license agreement with Canva,
It-
which isn't super expensive, but it's
Yes.
free.
But you can just search right there, not having to go to Pixabay or, Unsplash or anything like that. So, you've got to make all the links live in there. Then you have to put it on the website itself and then create the box, the content, add the piece, all of
Does
that.
Canva help you with any of that?
No,
So it generates a PDF. So you can do.
No, you generate the PDF. You can put it into a PowerPoint, you can put it into a Word document. It's just a platform. Canva is a platform.
See, there's
where
also
you
chat.
build it.
But
GPT,
I'm
maybe we
looking
have
at the
them.
output format that's capable of, and PDF is one of the output formats.
Correct.
You said Word was another output format.
Actually, it's images. I'm trying to think if it's Word. Could be PowerPoint, and then you can convert that to Word.
Okay.
Everything starts in Word. Everything has to be on the SharePoint. I have to send that to
Sure.
Tom and Tracy, make sure that
Right.
they've looked at
Okay.
the article,
We
how
work
it's
on the copy
written.
in
Yep.
Word and then it
I'll be
gets
right back.
It
beautiful.
just goes on and on.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
And I
I,
think,
thi- I think this discussion's making Tom's point
I'm trying to find
about
a
outsourcing.
newsletter here. I know there's a way. There used to be anyway.
well, I guess my comments here would be, I understand that there's the mechanics of the production of a newsletter, which we've been talking about a little bit,
Right.
but the hardest part about it is getting the content and
Mhm.
from the content sources, the subject matter experts.
Yep.
And that function has to be within the district.
Right.
It does.
So it has to be some employee here working
Yeah,
with the
exactly.
department heads and the experts and all those kinds of things. I'm just suggesting if you don't have the technical skills within the organization right now, right? Is there a role for an intern or a volunteer?
Yeah,
to-
certainly.
To do something, but I get your timeliness point
Yeah.
as well. So I think I would love a topic where we come back and say, where do we think, how are we going to continue to support the newsletter going
Right.
forward? And what your guys' thoughts are
So,
on that?
Yeah, and that's what, right now, and I know that Tracy and Carleen have met on this already, and they'll be doing so over the next week and a half, 2 weeks to sort out what the job description things, and then there will be discussions with the bargaining units. So how the job description gets divvied up and and whether it does, there might not be any change. It might be, nope, this is exactly what I want to do. That we've got we might outsourcing or other sorts of
Mhm.
thing might be one of the things for that final production. The copy to come from in here, but who makes it look nice? Who gets it formatted in a way that's digestible for print?
Mhm.
Things like that. And that's a skill set that not
Sure.
everyone has, right? And it's a specialty. Hayden does this. He would print things for a while. It's not just like hit print from Word
I
and
don't
you're
know
gonna
if
get
he's
something that people
volunteering
look-
enough yet.
Yeah, I know. He's
Well,
got things to shovel in his house.
But-
and then,
But there are ways to tap into that resource, if you will, and find easier way to do things, simple things that once you've got it in PDF format, Acrobat has a way to actually output to HTML and to Word. So the key is once you've got the content set, moving it to a web page. I was just doing this last week for one of our websites.
Found a volunteer.
And it was about an hour and a half to take a fairly complex three or four page newsletter article with photographs and build a web page out of it.
So
yeah, all right.
So
We're with
if
you.
we can kind of combine these two items for next
Yeah.
month and
You
talk
got it.
about that a little bit, and then, with all of your general manager connections, is there any kind of when you talk about subcontracting or outsourcing it, is there any small creative house or communications group that specializes in helping small water districts with
Cur-
their communication where
There-
they have
There are.
they have the templates online and you just put.
No,
it there or
there's
they do it
nothing
for you?
specific to water agencies. There's some that
Okay.
support public agencies and their PR companies and whatnot. But Carleen has some ideas on some other sorts of resources that are like freelance artist types are there
Mhm.
because they're just there to they're essentially their job is to make it look good and make it print ready. Because we have to bring them the content. We tell them, we lay it out like this and they make it
Mhm.
look nice. Because if 9 years ago, there was, the newsletter was essentially text with a little
Yeah.
thing on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
And we've been trying to improve it in-house, right? And Canva's been helpful. It really improves the look of it. But I think there's better ways to go. And now if we can get it out electronically in an HTML format that
Right.
people are using an HTML enabled browser without all the blockers and everything else, and we don't put live content in it, then yeah.
Yeah, and when we talked about this last time, I think one of the key things was that challenge around content. And that if we could start developing a network of relationships where we request out content from them. Maybe it's the, as I mentioned, like the Master Gardener, club of, that's local here. And we say, can you give us one article a quarter on a topic? And we pre-get them building that stuff, so there isn't as much scramble that when we know that the newsletter is going to go out on X day, that material has been banked, and there's just a couple of extra things that you give yourself a few weeks buffer before you get to that. So I mean, if we can start getting some of that content delivered from other places that are complementary, I think it's going to make the whole process easier and more informative
think
for the
like-
ratepayers.
North County Fire. They,
Yeah.
do they even have a news? I don't
Yeah,
know,
they-
but
Well, she was at our Rotary, well, that was a sheriff. Heather Mitchell was at our Rotary this morning. She does that for the sheriff's department. But I know North County Fire has,
Well, Mavis is
Mavis.
currently over there, and I know that I worked or communicated with her, and we actually have a piece in February's newsletter in regards to their fire symposium that's going to be going on. They asked if we could put that
Already
in the
did it.
February, March, so
Anyway,
there are certain connections there. They don't always want that they've got very, very active social media accounts and get a lot of their information out that way. But
They
this was
do?
something that
they
they,
don't.
well,
do
and
a very
part of
good
our
job.
service area
Oh,
is not their service area as well. So that's another challenge.
Okay, so I think we got the gist of what we're trying to get
Yep,
to.
I
on
got you.
this, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, there's work to be done, and there's whenever you have a transition like this, it's a
Mm.
challenge and an opportunity.
Yeah, I just getting the other people's content that is always the way to go. That helps out. Okay, anything else on those two topics? I was both 15 and 16. All right, moving on to 17, communication channel count. I think this topic, we were trying to find out what kind of ways in which right now we have the ability to communicate. When we look at the ratepayers, how many do we have email addresses for? How many do we have mobile numbers for that we're able to text communications to? How many are only, snail mail, to try to just get an idea. So that each one of those is a channel, right? Online, people who've signed up for the online account, that's a channel. So I was just trying to get an idea of how it breaks down. So that was the request, I think. Unless somebody remembers different. So if maybe next month, we could pull those stats that work.
So you want like the percent of customers we have email addresses or phone numbers for? Or the total number?
Yeah, count. So how many can we, or are we actively communicating with via text, right? How many are we actively sending emails to? It's not that we
I
have
don't know that our
email,
customer service staff texts much here, but I think that you can through the bill pay system.
right?
Pay by text. So it's like, we don't, well, I mean, when you say we, does that mean us or our?
right
Yes, sir.
now actively communicating outside of the initial contact with us, it's shutdowns.
But that's still a communication.
All right,
channel.
well, let's just line them all up, all the different ways.
It
And-
it
and
is,
how they're used.
and that's via phone number and
That's fine. But
And if that's all, because we have some telephonic.
Josh, you
outreach-
taking notes?
Yep.
All right,
Okay, but that's where that was going.
we're recording it too, so we can go back over that one.
Okay. Anything else on 17? So we'll come back to that, but just that's really what I think we were asking for, just to get an idea.
Okay.
Okay, and then we can go from there. 18, the 2023 event calendar.
so right now, again, the antique car show is being held in Valley Center, and I think that we had definitely determined that
Alright.
there wasn't really a value to that.
The
although it's-
avocado festival's in 79 days, 8 hours and 18 minutes.
Oh,
The Avocado Festival is scheduled for April 23rd, so Sunday, it is from 9 to 5. This year, as we had discussed, we did go ahead and request 2 spaces so that we could have more activities, more things that would draw in not only customers, but get kids in there. And then we have opportunity and to engage with their parents.
It gets
And
pretty tight in a 10 by 10 space.
it gets very tight. And if we really want to utilize the piece that we have that shows the backflow device and the valve and, you know, all of those types of things, then we need a little more space. Otherwise, it's kind of,
Will we go aisle to aisle or then 20
Straight
long?
through.
So we'll go to the aisle to aisle, we'll go straight
I
through.
don't know.
don't know what they're gonna do.
they asked the question. And I believe what I asked was to go back to front. Because that way we don't have, we literally could situate ourselves where, because every year we get the back sun and we
Yes,
fry. This is
golly.
going to give us an opportunity to have everything kind of in the center, and we might even be that great place where you want to go in the heat
You
of
could
the
move stuff
day.
to The cool side, place for people to be on the cool side in the morning. and-
Regardless of what aisle, that will have frontage on the aisle on both sides.
Both sides,
Okay.
both sides. I wanted both sides, and I'm hoping, since we always had 704, there was nobody on the backside for us last year.
Oh,
It would be
really?
great if we had both sides of that. We love the location, so hopefully that'll come through.
So no antique car show.
No.
Yes, avocado festival.
Yes.
Well, and we'll be at the Fallbrook, the fire preparedness, what do they call
The
it?
symposium,
Symposium.
Robert will definitely be there.
That's-
He's coordinating with
Come in.
Mavis over there to have some discussion.
What is the date on that one? I know it's going in our
It's
newsletter.
not in the newsletter yet. I mean, it's not on the website yet.
I want to say it's in March.
It is in March because I told her I would put it in the February and March newsletter, because we'll at least hit the first two cycles before the symposium actually happens.
Yeah, let me
Um,
see here.
So they'll have two opportunities to see that. I checked all of the Chamber of Commerce events that happen. I would say, yeah, March 20th is the symposium. And oh, it says the 20th through 24th. That's training.
Trying to find it on their
So is Josh. The only thing that I
website.
find that might be a good outreach for us is the farmers market in Fallbrook.
How big has that gotten now?
You know, last time I was there weren't that many vendors, but it was also just one time. And when I look at where you have the options in your application as a vendor, where you can actually go ahead and choose to do that, whether that's every single time, all Saturdays, the first and third Saturday, or the second and fourth Saturday. I'm not sure if when I hit that Saturday that there were less that were actually signed up on that particular Saturday. It's really the only other event or other outreach
Activity.
that we could.
That
It
kind of
seems
frequencies, yeah, it seems kind of too frequent,
And
at least from a
operate.
staff cost and whatnot, and the cost benefit.
Exactly. And those are your options. It's not like you can just sign up maybe a month in advance and say, hey, I'd like to go to the next one.
You
Those,
see the guy who's selling Trump flags off the side of the road there on Gopher Canyon? Who's set up out there next.
You sit up, but I
He
can't.
wasn't there the other day. Maybe he moved.
Maybe he
farther
Sold
down.
everything.
Okay, so basically we have the avocado festival. Okay,
That's the big one around here. Now
Got
the
it.
classic car show moved on.
got it. Okay, any other thoughts, questions on the 2023 event calendar? Item 19, public communications and related media story.
I just want to let you know that the Voice of San Diego, you got a copy of it there, ran an op-ed that Jack Beebe and I wrote. When they published that, yesterday morning or yesterday or the day.
Or day before,
Day
maybe
before
the day
yesterday.
before that it actually came out. 'cause it was
Yeah,
already
early in,
posted.
but this is related to the attachment. I don't know if copies were made for everybody or not, but I know
Sorry, I
you,
printed that out at home. So
okay. You know, the interesting thing, and we've written through this process a number of op-eds for various periodicals and you know, Times of San Diego, Village News, other things. You give them the op-ed and they post it, they mark it as an op-ed and they don't check it. These guys look through and anytime we made some assertion, they said, show us the data. And we're like, oh, wow. And they were very clear. They wanted it to be fact checked, which is not always what you see in opinion pages, which I appreciate because sometimes you see people say stuff on opinion pages. You go, well, that's not true. And so we sent them the corresponding data from LAFCO's website or from San Diego County Water Authority's website. And they put it in as active links in the document. So if anybody, we made, it was our writing that they hyperlinked the documents that we later sent them to back it up because they asked. And, you know, that's great because it's, you know, it's gives the reader who may look at what we say and as we're just biased or whatever, or we'll click the link here and you can read it for yourself, you know, not made up. So I appreciate that. And so I haven't seen I don't go back to check comments. I did once, but it was early after. I haven't gone back to check, but I think it's you know, it's basically a story about how it's unfair to try to punish us for following the law. And that's the way it is. So
Water Authority, MWD meeting reps.
yeah.
He brings them up.
Other public communications and related media stories to talk about?
There was a article in last Thursday's Village News on, I meant to bring it and forgot it. And I read it last week and now I've forgotten what the topic was.
Joe did one on on the agreement with Oceanside
Yeah, that's what it was. It was the outflow agreement.
for the Weiss agreement, I think. The Weiss agreement from the, but
Okay. And then he called me after the board meeting on that last week.
24th.
Wanted to confirm that the officers were all the same, with the exception of committee members. And then we talked about detachment for almost an hour.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Well, I mean, the only thing that I've seen, there's just been, obviously, there's a lot of coverage now in topics relating to utilities and utility expenses. You know, SDG&E comes to mind. So you're seeing, it seems like there's really becoming a groundswell of kind of a spotlight being put on utility costs and how it affects ratepayers depending on where they live. So these types of topics with regards to water, as well as natural gas, electricity, all seem very topical right now. So I think that's good, you know, that there's awareness and people are understanding some of the machinations of how these bodies work in the agreements that are out there. So let's see how that goes. Anything else on 19? Committee membership. What's this one about?
Well, would you like to go, Don, or shall I?
This is an opportunity for Cynthia to state whether she wants to continue on this committee as a member of the public following her retirement. And if so, then we can make a recommendation, the board appoint her at the February board meeting. If she's ready to do that now, or she can do it later. I just had it on here in case.
Just in
Okay,
case,
Just in case, no
Okay.
no pressure.
not to put you on the spot.
but
What do you think?
Yeah, I'd like to go ahead and
Possible member that we.
stick
Keep
with
her-
you guys. Yeah.
Wow, I think we found our volunteer. Oh, that's.
Does this-
don't want to
Does this help you win your bet?
oh no, he already got.
Or you already won that?
He already got it.
But I like pile on. This is
Pile on.
great.
Well,
Absolutely.
And
That's
there's another
wonderful.
candidate waiting in the wings.
Right, it wasn't able to make it today.
Yes, Frank,
Frank, yeah.
Frank, still interested. So, yeah, I hope that Frank can join us the next time. I think it's his wife's birthday today. So do we need then a motion? How do-
Someone would need to make a motion to recommend to the board that Cynthia be appointed to this committee. And that would go to their February board meeting.
Right.
So do
I
I-
so move.
Second,
a second?
I second it.
All right.
All right,
Do we need to do a roll call?
yes, because Bill is remote.
Yes. Except the beat. Member Hamilton,
Aye.
Member Shute,
Aye.
member Malakovich,
Aye.
and member Stewart.
Aye.
Thank you.
So now I have this thing because I've Cynthia's worked me at two different places and I've paid it. The district I work for has paid her to do many, many things over the years. But now that she's going to do it for free, we'll see.
See where she tells you to stick it.
This is great.
I have a vested interest. I'm a
That's right.
ratepayer.
There
That's
you
right.
go.
You do.
And you're in one,
Yeah, so-
District One,
Yes, I am.
District One,
Division one.
I mean, division, sorry. All right, well, let's see what the board says. Like, the crystal ball is positive. This is good. Okay, I like this. Item anything else on committee membership? Okay, moving on to item 21, appointment of committee chairperson and vice chairperson. This one's been out there for a while.
Yeah,
So,
we haven't had a membership to fill the vice chair position in quite a while, so
Okay.
that's why it's just been carrying over. If we're ready to do it
Yeah,
now, we
it
can
wouldn't be
carry it
a-
over next month.
A staff member or
So, comments, do you guys, you want to tackle this now? We want to wait?
I
till
guess
next
Cynthia
month?
has to get appointed.
I
by
was
the
gonna
board.
say she has to be appointed first.
Oh, Lordy.
I suggest we table this to the next meeting.
Any other
Well,
comments on
Frank
item
here
21?
too, so,
Yeah.
you know,
Frank
might
has,
as well.
Frank is definitely wanting, yeah, and he was so upset when he showed up on the wrong day.
Oh, no.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna table this till next month, but it may not clear next month, right? Because,
We'll
Because
see.
we'll have a board meeting in between.
okay,
And Frank will.
right, but Frank hasn't been, he hasn't been.
Oh, do you want to have the board recommend if he's okay, or is he ready for that?
He hasn't, I don't think he's committed to wanting his name put
What
forward.
was his-
He hasn't
yeah.
Officially committed.
I
yet,
wouldn't
so-
put his name forward until he
Till the
says that
board-
he absolutely
board.
wants to.
All right.
Okay, so 21, we're gonna carry over. So that takes us to our favorite item, list of suggested agenda items for the next scheduled communications meeting. I would just like to ask if it makes sense and Robert was available or one of his lieutenants, could we get a kind of a super high level, just a status of the project, kind of a high level overview of
Which project?
no,
The
I
lift
just
Station project.
know the
Oh, our
projects,
project.
just our projects in general, you know, kind of a high
yeah.
level, a
Chad
kind of a
gave all those
summary.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
It would-
Chad does that.
Chad?
Yeah.
Okay, could maybe,
He's
could
got
we,
one already ready to go, queued up. He
Yeah.
gave it yesterday.
yeah, I think it's because I think that would be really helpful
We need to-
for our new
Especially-
members and
Budget
Uh,
and finance.
Oh.
Wait, no, engineering
Either.
operations. I know I have 3 every month.
One
so
of
it's
them.
one.
one of the-
I guess I'm just, can I ask if that's possible?
Yeah, it's
If he's
totally
willing to do it?
Yep,
Um,
already done.
Okay,
We don't have to ask what demand.
Yeah, he gets
Oh.
paid.
So-
I'd like to see it both operations and projects.
Yeah, it does
Yeah.
include the ones that are, the Robert's usually a part of that. He was there as well yesterday, so.
so we'll get a high level overview of kind of what's going on right now. Okay, that's super. Let's see, so 11 will carry over, 12. If we have an update on 13, we'll get some feedback just on 14 as far as where we are. We'll have a chance to maybe combine this 15 and 16 into one. Kind of a review of the communications calendar and go forward recommendations, something like that.
Yeah,
we'll-
how are we gonna continue to support the newsletter and other written communication?
Perfect. And then I think we can drop 18. We know, we'll get a little bit of data on 17.
Well, the only thing that I would suggest adding instead of the event calendars, maybe it's since April's coming up, the avocado festival.
Okay, prep for avocado.
I
Yep,
would-
that'd
I
be
would,
good.
yeah.
Replace that with the avocado
Yeah.
festival preparations, or that'd be good. And 20 doesn't have to carry over, 19 will, and we'll carry over 21 and 22.
Well, I'll do 20 in case Frank is here.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
Other comments, items on item 22? All right. If there's no other comments, then we're adjourned. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Oh, I hope you feel better soon, Bill, or at least test negative.
Well, I'm getting closer.
They're not quite as bright red, huh? The line there.
Yeah, good news.
We got rid of the blue.
I'm
Sorry.
still pretty bright red.
When you first logged in, your camera was a
Thank
little
you
mixed
all.
up and you were all blue. So we're like, oh boy, worse than we thought.
I know, mine looks fine, but I think up on the screen there, I may look like blue hornet.
I know we're about to.
Okay, thanks.